warm virtual welcome to this edition of transport.co.connect. I'm your host, Zainab Yusuf Abdurrahim, and I'm thrilled to have every one of you joining us from across the world. We'll be discussing navigating distraction and avoiding procrastination for success in business and in career. In today's fast-paced world, distractions abound and procrastination can hinder progress in both business and career. But fear not, our guest, Kenneth Awom, will equip you with strategies to overcome these challenges and achieve your goals. Kenneth Awom is a Facebook certified digital marketing associate and a digital monetization expert with a love for teaching. He is also a blogger at 24niger.com, a paid media specialist, a YouTuber, and a data science enthusiast. He has experience creating global digital marketing campaigns, digital skills training, websites, and mobile apps for effective brand marketing. That's some serious, what do we call it now? Citation. Just so you know that our guest is someone who is equipped for tonight's program. He has worked with Better Niger. He has worked with Google Digital Skills for Africa. He has worked with MTN Foundation and ITF, to mention but a few. He also has experience growing his two YouTube channels to over 9,000 subscribers and also growing his mobile app to over 50,000 downloads. That's a lot. Kenneth, welcome to Trent Watch Connect. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Zainab, for having me.
In today's hyper-connected world, our ability to stay focused and productive is more critical than ever. By mastering the art of navigating distraction and avoiding procrastination, we not only enhance our own performance and well-being, but also unlock new opportunities for growth and success. Together with our guests, we will share insight, experience, and practical advice to help you reclaim your time, maximize your productivity, and achieve your goals. So without further ado, let's embark on this journey together. I encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, and engage with our guests. Let's navigate the path to success in business and career, one distraction-free step at a time. My first question for you, Kenneth, is how can we identify our biggest sources of distraction in both our personal lives and our professional lives?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, first of all, and thanks for the introduction. I'm really glad and I'm grateful to be here. So one is just by starting off by being observant. You want to keep an eye on yourself, being self-aware, making note of all the little decisions you're taking, big changes, your emotional states, your stress levels, what you can take, what you cannot take. Just having like a mental jotter, like you jot things down and you take note of it, just being observant. And from that, you can have this repository where you know what makes you feel distracted, or are you this kind of person that would want to read when you're comfortable, when the temperature is at a specific degree? Is that your sort of thing? Can you read when it's noisy? So these kind of things will help you build like a mental profile about yourself. And it just starts by, just being observant, and you would have like a solid foundation to then build on, knowing things that, okay, this is a negative, this is a positive, there's something I like to keep, there's something I like to take away. But if you're not observant, if you're not conscious, if you're not self-aware, then there's no way you can improve on yourself. And it's funny how you'll be like, oh, that's obvious, right? But most people do not pay attention to themselves. Most people don't even cannot remember what they had for breakfast, right? And it's that bad. So it's just people being like, take a breather, pause, and be like, okay, let me, start looking at the actions of my before. Was I a good person? Was I a bad person? And from there, you can make better decisions going forward. It's sort of like that saying, which is like cliche, but then again, it's cliche for a reason, right? Without your past, you can't make make decisions for your future, right? Which is why there's overemphasis on read your history, know your history. And it starts from there. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I absolutely agree with you in the line of observation. You mentioned something about not being able to read when it's noisy, and it just clicked in my head because it took me a long time to figure out how best I assimilate. And like you
Yeah.
said, I one of those people that would rather put on my headphones, play some music, and block out the rest of
Oh,
the
I can't
world.
do that.
And
I definitely cannot do that.
I'm not actually even
I need
listening to the
silence.
music. And that's how if I'm in a place where it's quiet,
Yeah.
I feel like my mind will start racing. Like I just won't
Okay.
concentrate. So it took me a while to figure out that that's the kind of person I am. So yes, I absolutely
Okay.
agree with you with observing who you are. So my second question is, what are the practical strategies for managing distractions while working remotely or in a busy office environment?
My first answer would be, the almighty Google Calendar. Have that and have peace. The first practical step is like having something else to remind you of what you're about to do. I know people want to like bask in the how will I put it now? In the capacity of their mental state that they can, remember things, I can remember my friend's number from before, right? But it helps to like, write it down. So you can open a book and be like, okay, I need to do this at this hour, this minute, this second. That helps to organize you, give you like a blueprint to start off. And I'm sort of like big at just having a foundation, like a base. Because once you have a foundation, a solid foundation, then anything can be laid on that foundation, right? But with no foundation, then you don't know what you've been doing, right? Because next thing you have something, then it topples or it falls down. So just having that foundation, for me, what works for me best is the Google Calendar, having things scheduled in advance, then it frees you up or gives you a structure to say, okay, my 2 o'clock is booked, so I need to figure out what to do between now and then. Um, Another thing again is like picking up back from being observable. So if you have done that, if you've observed yourself, then you now have materials to work on. So for example, you said you have to put on headphones, right? For me, I definitely cannot do that. I'll be singing as I'm reading, and definitely I'll be singing than doing more reading, So you've gotten that information that that you need to put on headphones to concentrate more. So if you're working and you have like this task that you need to do, then all you have to do is like find a piece of headphone or earplugs, put them on,
Yeah,
and you'll be zoned into the work that you
yeah.
have going on, right? Unlike there are different steps, there are different hacks for different people. If social media is a thing for you that you want to get out of the way to help you be more productive, again, going back to our first question, which was you have to be observable. So if you've observed that you spend 5 hours on Instagram and there's no money coming in and you need money to go and buy sugar and Gary, it's not Instagram that will give you that, right? So you have to like
Yeah.
just the hours you're spending on Instagram. Nobody has to tell you that. But if you're this kind of person that you've tried to put the phone down, but you're having like a panic or anxiety attack, like, oh my God, what if Otedela mistakenly, sends me a DM and
Oh,
I'm not
oh,
online to reply it. Let me just check, or you hear like a ping and you're like, oh my God, it might be credit alert, bank alert, but I wouldn't know if I don't check, right? So one way
yeah.
of doing that is like I've seen someone turn the entirety of their phone to black and white.
Check.
And imagine just like scrolling hours and hours on Instagram and you're just seeing black and white. Like it will be boring, right? And you get tired of it. So as you're getting tired of it day after day, day after day, you notice yourself gradually losing that mechanism or that urge to always go back to Instagram. So those are some like productivity hacks, but I feel like productivity hacks come and go. but have a foundation, like have a structure. Where do you want to start off from? Which is having like a to-do list, something that will remain timeless, something that will be here for ages to come, will be a pen and a paper, and it's called a to-do list, right? Have a to-do list of what you want to do. Do I want to be more observable? Do I want to make time for family? Do I want to make time for friends? Do I want to be a billionaire in 5 years to come? It starts by writing it down, right? And once
Yeah.
you have that foundation, then you can gradually like build up. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you so much. And
Well,
Instagram, spending 5 hours, some of us are guilty. So my third question would be, how can we overcome the tendency to procrastinate on important tasks and projects? I feel like this is something that affects a lot of us more than we acknowledge. And many of us will be greater, so to speak, than we are currently, or will find more things doing, or will be more productive if we can kill that spirit of procrastination. But it's difficult. So, what would you say we can do to overcome the tendency to procrastinate?
so that's a very good question, especially like it's something that I'm also struggling with. And I think that it's something that has different levels to it.
Sure.
So level one is like general public. Everyone is invited to the club, right? Level two
Yeah.
is if you're someone that finds it easy to do a lot of things. Like today, you can be a videographer. Tomorrow, you're a journalist. Tomorrow, you're
Mhm.
Tinubu's PA. Tomorrow you're a
Yeah.
scientist, right? You're that kind of person that is a multi-potentialite sort of person. You can easily dabble. You're the, quote unquote fast learner in that
That whole
CV
many
line. I just need to watch a YouTube tutorial and I'm good kind of person, then that's a whole different level when it comes to procrastination. Um, but when I think about it, especially like trying to find solutions for my own self,
yes.
the end of the day, the conversations you end up having with yourself is about truths and honesty. Are
Mm.
you really ready, for that thing you're trying to work on? And I know this might sound like too grandiose because it's like I'm procrastinating trying to wash plates. So why am I asking myself, am I really ready? Or am I going too deep?
No one is
But
very ready to do that.
on the deeper level, right? It's actually it's still in connection with it because are you really ready? Do you think that you really want it? When you watch documentaries or read biographies of people who we emulate to be or inspire to aspire to be, you find out that there's a certain set of like obsession with whatever they did or with whatever they became successful with. So a very good one is the chess movie with the girl on Netflix. I forgot the name of the movie, but you can tell that she was obsessed with trying to learn chess. She was thinking
Yeah.
about chess. She was sleeping, dreaming, thinking about chess. Every waking moment was like chess. When you look down memory lane and think about your days in secondary school or primary school, and if you're unfortunately not the first in class, right? When you think about people who were taking first in class, you notice that they were always reading, they were always studying, they almost had no social life, right? And that's just the obsession. So, if you're not obsessed with trying to become a lawyer, if you're not obsessed with trying to become a videographer, if you're not obsessed with trying to become a programmer, then you're just aiming to be mediocre, which is sort of like average at best. If you're a programmer, you're spending like waking hours, on your laptop trying to program, trying to watch this certain tutorial. And that was like conversations I was having with myself where I was sort of like, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be in tech. I want to be a programmer, but I would rather watch Netflix than, watch a tutorial for 5 hours. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
that. And I was like, why am I doing this? Right? Because why will I have much more time to focus on Netflix, like entertain myself than strive for
Do
the
something
dream or the life I
good.
want to create, which is which will require me watch this for a bit long or a stretch of hours, and I'm not
Yes,
willing to do
yes,
that. So it's like, okay, if you're not really willing to do that, then this billionaire goal you are striving for, my brother, calm down. Let's just go for I own a house. I can sleep in, right? Because that would be your own package. So it's sort of
yeah.
like having that honest conversation with yourself, like, do I really want this? Because if I really want this, then I
I want
should
to
be,
know.
striving for it like it's the next thing after sliced bread. So
Mm.
I guess it's just having that honest conversation with yourself, like, hey, I'm playing back again to our first question. You've observed that this is what you're doing, right? Because if you didn't observe it, then you'll not have grounds to have this conversation. So you've observed, and now you're now having a conversation with yourself, asking yourself questions, wondering why you're not taking the initiative, why you're not spending hours. You're trying to be the best employee in the company, but every time there's a Zoom meeting, you're 10 minutes late, or you rather do anything than be on that meeting, right? So,
Truth,
just having this
truth,
honest
truth.
conversation with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Everything you said is really so relatable. Even with people who are working remotely,
Yeah.
like you said, especially with the Zoom meeting, or you dress half half top because that's
Half and half.
actual. We know ourselves. If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trends Watch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact// to be part of the next big thing. Okay. So my next question would be, are there specific time management techniques that can help us stay focused and productive throughout the day?
Okay. There are tons of productivity hacks to answer that question, but I'm not well versed with them. But what I would give you that works for me is the Google Calendar, because that just helps me. That gives me like a foundation in terms of like time. But
Mm.
time management is still a big conversation to have, because you might fall into that rabbit loop or hole of trying to get the best time management app or best time management tool.
Yeah.
And there at the basis of it, you just want to look for something that is timeless, something that works, something that gives you a foundation. Then you just have to, will I say, repeat cycle again, observe, is this thing working for me? Ask more questions surrounding the workings, the environment of this thing that you've taken on, right? And find more innovations or features to change. Now, to give more examples or specifics on it is, for example, you want to be more effective with your time, but you don't know the activities you have lined up for the day. It's not going to work, right? There's no way you're going to be effective with your time. And there's this principle called the 80-20 principle, where 20% of your efforts is responsible for 80% of your results. So a good way of saying it is like, imagine if you have 100 clients, right? 20 of those clients are responsible for the revenue of your company, and that's just only 20 people, right? So it's not like, okay, if you can do a whole lot more in just 2 hours out of 10 hours, and you've observed that, what time of the day would you best situate that 2 hours to be in, right?
Mm.
So most people would advise you to say, early to bed, early to rise. So if you wake up
Yes.
early in the morning, between
Don't
4 to
populate
6, the house is, premiumly quiet,
Yeah.
so you can really plan out, be in that
Get
comfort
your
zone,
things
that
done.
zen,
Yeah.
and you find that your mind is most active, you're much more calmer, you're not thinking about stress, you're not thinking about food for most people. So it gets you going, and if you've had that organized shit or to-do list from the day before, within that 2 hours, you can just, work on your core and tasks, then you're good to go for the rest of the day. And the rest of the day, maybe you're just joining meetings, taking summary, and preparing for tomorrow. So
Mm.
I think just to summarize, the key points are have a to-do list, know what you're organized for, get a scheduler that gives you like your time, in terms of like what you schedule for your time. Then also have try to wake up as early as possible to get majority of your tasks done. There are 24 hours in a day, so try to make the best of it.
Most
Yeah,
yes.
most of it, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. You answered that question brilliantly. So this next question is more about people who work in offices or corporate environments.
Yeah.
I used to have a 9 to 5, and I really suffered from this because I feel like I tend to be overly nice because I just don't want to fight with anybody. And sometimes it bites back at me. So the question is, how do we strike a balance between being accessible and responsive to colleagues while avoiding constant interruptions?
Okay. I would say it's a couple of things, right? Again, it's starting off with like foundation. Let's look at the root of the problem. The root
Yeah,
of the problem will start off with like, was there training done? Is there staff training going on? Is the executive in charge, aware of or capable of providing training for the staff? So you notice then where people get hired in organizations and they just start doing the work immediately. There's
yeah.
no training, there's no, here's our culture, here's how we do things, here's some tools to help
Just give
you
me job
on this job.
description. Yes.
Yeah, they just like, we've employed you. Come and figure it out. Right? Um,
Yeah.
and I get asked these questions a lot during like, let's say, job interviews. And my answer is there are two things. For the employee side, it's being cognizant that yes, you are an employee and you have an employer or a manager, right? And just being cognizant of like people have limited time and you don't want to be that person that goes to someone with a question still bare. You want to go informed as you're asking the question. So what that means is that, okay, I'm trying to create a profile on Facebook. I have tried. It's not working, right? Have I Googled? Have I gone to the library to research
Yeah.
more? Have I read the terms and condition? Have I investigated further? What have I done on my own to solve that problem? Right. So by the time I'm going to the executive or the manager in question, I would, tell them that, oh, I've done this, and this,
Yeah.
but I'm still having
Exhausted
this issue.
options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm coming to you. And doing that is like you're also being respectful to that person's time, because the time that they would have used to help you sort that issue from scratch, they would have used it to like either make more money for the company or solve other higher priority tasks, right? But you going to them with that question is sort of like borrowing their time and in a way pulling them back, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
being respectful in that regard. And for the employer or the manager side is again, going back to training, have you provided the training? Have you built in that culture that, hey, if you have come across a problem, try to solve it on your own before you come to me. So that I'll just give you skim tips, right? And again, as a manager, are you willing to listen? Are you willing to and also provide the guiding lights that this employee would need. Most
Yes.
people do not do that, right? And to answer your question on accessibility, how do I make myself accessible, but not too accessible? Again,
Accessible. Yeah.
another cliche saying, too much of everything is bad, right? And it's there for a reason. If not, it won't be cliche. So one is, do we have like a Google Calendar situation? If your calendar is already booked, that will let you know that, okay, you definitely cannot be available all the time because you have days booked or hours
Certain.
blocked.
Yes.
So you want to have a conversation with yourself. When, or what day of the week do I feel more friendly or more interested in tackling the problems of other people? Then you assign that day, right? And tell everyone that, okay, if you have a problem, come to me at this day. Or if it's particular hour, come to me at this particular hour, right? And I'll listen to you and help you solve your problem. And everybody will respect it. Now they know that, okay, you are busy. During the rest of the week or during the rest of the hours, right? And this is the time slot we know when to come. So it's a bit more organized. Once you set up the structure, people will just respect that and it goes along and in that line. But if there's no structure, it's not organized, everything is up to be turned into a chaos.
Things happen to us in life, and at the
Yeah.
time it's happening, it makes absolutely no sense. But
Yeah.
later in the future, you go back in time and you're like, oh, remembered one of my former colleagues. And at the time, it felt like she's just a, you know, diva. Like she was just like, no, you can't talk to me now. I have to. And at the time, I used to, what's your problem? Are you doing this stuff in this company? But now it makes absolute sense that okay, she had other things she was doing in her office at the time, and
Yeah.
was not interested just carrying other people's burden and adding to hers. Why not solving her own problem? So now I kind of respect her, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell her.
And just to add to that, in terms of like solving problem, especially if you're like that go-to person, that solutions person, right? What I've realized is that it's not all problems you should solve, right? Some problems need to fester, like they need to, happen. They need to germinate. They need to marinate, right? And
I
some problems you need to be like, oh, thank you for telling me. I hope you find a way of
agree.
solving it. And I wish you good luck,
Happy
right?
yes.
So some problems
I
you
get
enter in
it.
that you're trying to solve it and you're just digging a bigger hole for yourself. You might not see it in the short term, but in the long term, you'll be like, oh my God, I wish
Yeah.
I just told this person. I'm there for, how will I put it? Phone call support. Just call me, rant about it. I tell you good luck. I end the phone call and we go on with our day, right? So
Yeah.
it's also, especially if you're that solutions person, that person who is always willing to solve other people's problem or be there for people, choose your
Yes.
battles. Yeah, and just be cognizant of
Why?
problems you're trying to
This is why.
solve. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My next question is, can you share any tips for breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps to combat procrastination? If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trends Watch Weekly magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/ to be part of the next big thing.
I think we can even use this podcast session as an example with like the questions you've asked me, right? I try to look at them from like the root cause, then you build your way up. So in terms of like just breaking down a tax, the answer is just making it modular. So if you're trying to build, excuse me, an airplane, you just break down an airplane basically. So you have the front of the airplane, you have the wings, you have the engines, you have the landing gear, you have the passenger cabin, like, okay, what part can we build? What part can we build? Then at the end of the day, you join everything together and you have your airplane, right? Similar with like writing an article. The article has four parts: the introduction, the main problem, the solution to the problem, then the conclusion, right? If you look at it from that way, then you'll be like, oh, okay, this now makes sense. It's just finding the best way to break them down. And it's this question reminds me of mental models because most people don't know about what mental models are. And I remember the first time I saw what it was. I feel like we all know what mental models are, but in terms of like putting the label mental model, then you'd be like, oh, what is this? But the first time I read an article about it, I was like, oh wow, okay, this makes sense. And mental model just is just creating models on how you can mentally do things to achieve more with less effort. So a good example is if you want to get more opportunities, one of the fastest way of getting more opportunities is to be known more or know more people, right? So
Yeah.
imagine if you know 1 million people, you have access to 1 million opportunities by that. So if you want to get a big tax done, get the smaller tax done and add them together, then before you know, you have the big tax done in that regard. So just like I said, breaking it down and joining it or coupling it all together once you have built the smaller parts.
Thank you so much. My final question for you on this episode would be, what are some long-term strategies for maintaining focus and avoiding procrastination in our careers, especially during challenging or stressful times?
Best way to answer that question is, you are suffering, but try a way of like changing your perspective on it and find a positive outlook on it and just do the work that needs to be done. Um, so, and it's very insensitive in a way to give that sort of advice. Um, but it's like at the end of the day, even if the resources are there, people are there, you still have to take that first step, make that phone call, write that article, send that CV, come up with that idea, be consistent. It still has to be you at the end of the day, right? So if you're suffering, going through hard times, it's like, okay, I can either wallow, I can either complain, but then again, you're complaining, where's it going to go to? Or I can be a solution to my problem. What do I need to do? What are the alternatives? What can I do to solve this? Okay, I'm not getting jobs, right? Can I start up a small business? Okay, I don't have money to start up a small business. What can I do to get funds to start up a small business, right? I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an astronaut, but I don't have the funds. But I can easily become a social media manager, and get the funds then in 5 or 3 years' time, have enough money to become an astronaut or a lawyer. Yeah, it's that changing your perspective. Yeah, I need to get you going.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. This session has been a very insightful, a very educative, a 5-star rating anywhere you are, and do well to share our video on your platforms with your friends and family. You can visit us on www.trainsword.co for more. Join us again on Saturday, the 30th of March, 2024. For our next episode. We promise we'll be bringing you another amazing guest as always. This episode was produced by Musa Muhammad. The research was done by Azomta Udochukwu. Our executive producer is Sana Kundiri, and I remain your host, Zainab Yusuf Abdurrahim for Trendswatch.co. Thank you so much, everyone. Till next time, stay safe, be kind, and enjoy your evening. Bye. If you're looking to boost your business brilliance, you're an entrepreneur, or you run a school, have a restaurant, or you're just individuals who like to showcase your story, please feel free to do so via Trendswatch Weekly Magazine. You can amplify your influence. Visit our website www.trendswatch.co/contact/ to be part of the next big thing.